Hello, class. Let me situate my camera here. Okay, hello. This is for my class as we are talking about assessment. So let's first talk about your project upcoming and the assessment paper that I want you to do. So I want you to address in this 4-page paper about assessment and what's the most key and important element of an assessment, doing a psychological assessment or psychosocial assessment for a patient or client. Well, the most important aspect of that is building a rapport. You want to build a strong rapport with your patient or client because you're going to be asking information that's very sensitive, and so you want to build that rapport and have a trust that your client, your patient has in you. And so I want you to talk about in your paper about the rapport building, how you build that rapport and how you maintain that rapport throughout an assessment. How do you do that? We have talked about that in our lectures. And why is that so important? Well, I want you to talk about in your paper the importance of that has to do with the questions that you're going to be asking your patient, which is you're going to be getting a full history on their drug, alcohol use. If they've used, you're going to be asking those questions. But you're also going to be asking sensitive questions about any sort of abuse in childhood or adulthood, such as sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, any sort of trauma, sexual trauma. So these types of questions are, of course, very sensitive and can trigger your patient or client, and they may not be ready to go there. They may have walls up. Maybe they've had walls up for many years. So in order for them to divulge that very sensitive information during an assessment, they've really got to be able to trust you, and that's going to come from having a strong therapeutic alliance, a therapeutic rapport with that patient. Okay? So I also want you to discuss in your 4-page paper about the different areas that you will ask about. So go through the assessment, and I want you to touch on those different areas of the assessment, particularly our last week's lecture, where I asked you to take notes because I was sharing information that was not on your assessment notes that all of you should have received through the email. If you haven't, please let me know. And if you have not watched that lecture, you need to go and you need to upload it. It is from last week, so it'll be dated for our last Tuesday, okay? Because I went through the rest of the assessment process, and I asked you to take the notes on these different areas and why it's so important that we ask questions in these particular areas, okay? Such as a person's, and I'm going to give, this is a freebie, okay? I'm going to give this one away. When we ask about an individual's faith or spirituality or religion, okay? So remember I talked about ask that question including all of those areas, because one person may identify with a particular religion, another person may identify as being spiritual, and yet another person may identify as a person of faith. So you want to, when you ask about that area of a person's life, you want to word it using those 3 different identifiers, okay? And remember, I talked about the importance of asking in childhood what the experience was, if their family identified with a particular religion, or if they considered themselves people of faith or spiritual, attended church, blah, blah, blah. And then how are they today in their own individual life, and do they continue to practice that? Okay, so that's a freebie. That's all you get. So this is a 4-page paper written in APA format. You'll have your standard university cover page on the front, and you will write this up. And this will be due, I believe, next week. I think I extended it a week. So you will email that to me at my Cal Baptist email, okay? So if you're having any problems or issues, please let me know. But that is the assignment. And yeah, so there it is. Okay, so I'm going to end here, and then I'm going to come back, and we're going to talk, start our discussion, our lecture on the DSM. Okay, all righty.